say that I have a lot of pens is an understatement. Being a writer, I got into them because my father been a district supervisor of household finance in GE Credit Corporation. So he had a lot of pens. He had a lot of things, and he gave me a gold cross pen, ballpoint, and I still have it. I thought I'd lost it. That was in high school. I put it in my suit pocket, had an assembly, and I didn't want to tell him that I couldn't find it. So when I did find it, guess what I did? I was very excited. Now, my father hated fountain pens. The fountain pens in his generation would leak. Um, I hated them with a passion. So, the longest time I only had ballpoint, and I always thought fountain pens were awful. When anybody would say to me about them, I would say, "Why would you want a fountain pen? Why would you possibly ever want a fountain pen?" And I still see that need today. I see that there's a benefit to a simple pen you click, take apart, and fill with ink. And for the most part, it's a permanent ink. Um, Fountain pens, dip pens, I never bridged the gap. I was taught how to do calligraphy with a dip pen. So historically, I was taught such ways. But you can have those same properties in a fountain pen as you do in a dip pen. Dip pens are more permanent inks. Ballpoint pens are more permanent inks. But most fountain pen inks are not permanent. You can get them, and that gives you more options. The ones today I find more available. You know, you have converters, you have piston fillers, and then you have ones that are filled with a eyedropper, like this one here. And I really wanted to love this pen. It's a PenBBS pen. I'm going to show it to you here. It's some type of a lily. So you have a cap here in this end, and there's a inkwell. It's kind of like an hourglass. And there's a double nibbed pen. Kind of a strange thing. I wanted to love this pen. There's a couple caveats to this pen. I want to go over them before I write with them. Number one, no matter how you store this pen, no matter how you use this pen, you have to realize a fountain pen is a slow release of liquid through a nib. So no matter how you hold it, it's going to drip into these caps. You're not going to avoid that. Number two, it's a eyedropper with a very small window in it, which means that when you get about half air, it's going to burp. In this case, it doesn't. Now, this pen has typical PenBBS. You put any PenBBS nib you want in it. It unscrews right here. You have O-rings, so you can use silicone grease to seal this. In theory, it's a great pen, but these PenBBS nibs tend to run very dry. The reason for this is that they are an Asian pen made for Asian writing. What you can do is take your fingernail, just press on it very lightly, like so, and push down and spread those tines, because it tends to write very dry. I'll show you that in a minute. One of the things you can do, you can buy a lubricated ink. Somewhat works. You can polish the nib, or you can replace the nib. I find a hard time finding a nib that fits this, even though these are a number 6 nib that fits that. Now, one thing is, I think if it had a ebonite feed, that would help a lot. It would also make it drip a lot. So, same process as being dry, that keeps this from leaking a lot as you're storing it, one way or the other. Does tend to work in that way as well. Now, looking at this nib, you're going to see that for Asian writing, especially for writing in China, this comes from, Either your breather hole, your tines, or it splits. My camera won't focus, but you see that beautiful acrylic. You can like push down and go several times. Try to spread that a little bit. Made for Asian writing. I'll show you. Did not intend for this to be a long video just on the history of pens, but I just thought I'd show you how this tends to write for me. I don't want to write my name. So I've gotten it to write a little bit better, and what you'll find is that it does have really nice line variation. I tend to hold my pen at an angle. That's because I was taught to write with a dip pen. Okay? And when you write with a dip pen, you want to get the flat, usually using with a stub. The pen to write more of flat to smooth to wide. This pen is very dry. It took me a lot just to get it not to skip to this style of writing. And I'll show you in a minute. The caveat with it is that now you have to contend with two nib units, and two issues that can happen on every pen. Now you have it with both nibs. It's kind of a strange thing. So that's Noodler's Liberties Alyssum, and on this one I have Purple Heart. It's a for the Purple Heart. I'm going to do the same thing. You're going to see the difference. These are both the same nibs. Very light. See how dry it's getting. It's almost scratching the paper. And it's not putting down a consistent line. Now, I have to write slower with this for that reason. But let's take a look here. Quick. Brown Fox. I've put some dish detergent, a very small amount, in this ink to help lubricate it. So that does help, but it's still very, very dry. Very, very dry. And show you the line variation I can get. If I write slower, if I take my time, I can get beautiful line variation with this nib. I like that a lot. So as far as for slow writing, that's wonderful. But if I'm writing a letter, I know what I'm going to say. I've already pre-written the old-fashioned way. You write a draft and you go through and go, "My dearest love, it has been so long since I've seen you. You could get away with it. And it would be very beautiful. But, my dearest love, my ink is not as I would wish, even though this is a very beautiful pen. I like this pen. I do like it a lot. But as far as reliability, everyday use, it's not on my top 10. It's still a fun pen, isn't it? It's just beautiful. And it catches people's eyes. It's a conversation piece. It does everything. But it's just too much pen and too many things to go wrong. With two nibs, the eyedroppering. But if you like it and you want to have fun with something and you want to play with it to do some fancy writing, this is not a bad pen.